Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Scoops VFLW Game Changers Show. I'm your host, Scoops, the sole admin of Scoops. And what a week it was for VFLW footy, women's footy. It was the round of upsets of teams choking a lead, come from behind victories, teams almost coughing up a lead, controversial umpiring in some games. I attended a game in heavy rain conditions for 3/4 of the game. It was an interesting game to be at, the Collingwood-Hawthorn clash, where Collingwood just got over the line. Casey had a massive lead against Essendon and blew it. The Bulldogs got a harsh reality check, proving that North Melbourne is still the best team in the VFLW competition today. I can't even speak. I'm so mad with the umpiring in that Collingwood-Box Hill clash, which I'm going to get to very shortly. We had Port Melbourne do what I expected against Geelong, and my side, Sandy, lost by 1 point to Williamstown. Now, as of last week's recording, number one, we never know the team lineups heading into the weekend's game while I'm recording every week, so we're recording earlier in the week, obviously. Teams aren't out until Friday. That's something, too, they need to fix. Scoops Goes Bang is something, too, is something I'm going to go through as well. So, first off, I'll start off with this. Now, if you know any VFLW players or any other State League players or AFLW players and you want to see them on the podcast in a goal kicking challenge and or interview, or even co-hosting an episode with me on this show, or any other of my podcasts, or just want to be on a video in general, message me on Instagram at AFLinfoLive, and we'll try to get something sorted. I would greatly appreciate it. If you're watching this and you're not subscribed, please do so. Leave a comment, send me a message on Facebook or Instagram, your thoughts on this video and everything like that. I greatly appreciate it. It was appreciative very much so last week and the last few weeks to get some messages from people that watch this show, that either play in the competition or know people that do. So I really do appreciate the people that support this show and my channel as a whole. It truly does mean a lot, so I really appreciate it. I met some of you at some of the VFLW games as well, so I really do appreciate you all very much. Now, Scoops Goes Bang is going to be probably the most explosive ever on the VFLW Game Changers Show. So let's start off with the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Boom. Well. Watch this clip, and I think you know where I'm going with this.
Collingwood, there's 40 seconds to go. Oh, that was the chance. That may be it. The Pies are up by 3 with 20 seconds left. That's play on. So this is the definition of time wasting. Stevenson.
So, time wasting. This is why I brought up the discussion of the clock should always stop at stoppages, at goals, at injury time, and everything like that. And it also would help the scoring be even better than what it is already. So this is something that all state leagues need to listen to. Whether you're the VFLW, the Waffle W, or the Sample W, or any of the Quaffle W leagues, the Tassie leagues, etc. You need to implement the rule where the clock stops at stoppages, at goals, and everything like that. Now, Paige Price kicked 2 goals for Box Hill in the last 6 to 7 minutes. And there should have been like 4 minutes for them to win. But because the clock kept going after you kick a goal, the clock keeps going. So you're somehow getting punished for kicking a goal, because then you've got to have the smarts as the player to retrieve the ball back if it's gone in the stands or if it's just no one's getting it. You've got to retrieve the ball. But then you have the opportunity for the opposition to cheat the time. Now, I'm not saying Collingwood are cheats, but it's within the rules to do so. So you can do it. But just morally, it's just wrong. And how the competition can allow such rule to be a thing, or a rule can be cheated and manipulated, is ridiculous. That rule should not exist. Now, every player for Collingwood that did what they did is within the rules. So I'm not bagging them individually. But that's a prime example of what I've been talking about for weeks. In fact, for months, for years, Try. But on this show, since I've started this show, I've been saying how much the clock should stop no matter what. Just like in the AFL. Should stop at every stoppage, injury time, goal, behind, out of bounds, an umpire debating a decision. The clock keeps going in the VFLW competition. And when Paige Price got her last goal, that got it to under a goal, there was like 45 seconds lost from the ball going through the goals and bringing it back to the middle. And then you saw there when Gabby Collingwood had a shot at goal from about 45 metres out, about 45 seconds left. Then you saw the Collingwood player take the shot from the kick out, just stand there for a good 20 seconds and also adding in retrieving the ball. Now, that's not Collingwood's fault in regards to a Collingwood VFLW, because Gabby Collingwood had the shot for Box Hill, who had a pretty good game, by the way, but the stats don't show how good she actually was and impactful for Box Hill. But that should have been called play on from the kick out. Do you really think that Collingwood wanted to get rid of the ball straight away? No, because they were in front. And they know the clock doesn't stop, so all they had to do was chew up time. And I've spoken to actual umpires that have umpired at this level before, or at other levels that are state league level and local level, and that know the rules for competitions like this. The time is 7 seconds. 7 seconds. That was around 20 seconds before the ball was kicked out. So even if you want to put the rule aside to what I'm saying about the clock should always stop, that's 13 seconds extra that Box Hill should have gotten. And in that same clip, Stacia Stevenson, who was the one that got tackled there by Chloe Hunt, that should have been Stacia's free. And then on top of that, the other player for Box Hill, Matilda, who was number 6 in that clip, was being held by her opponent multiple times before she even got possession of the ball. She was being tackled by her opponent without the ball 2 or 3 times in that same clip. So the umpiring in the Box Hill game was very, very bad. Now, I've got no bias or whatever word you want to use in this game. I don't dislike any team. I don't have a favoritism for either side in this clash. But Box Hill got shafted plenty of times in this clash. And that is just one of many examples where they got screwed over. If you go watch my matchday vlog, there's probably a few calls you probably capture in that footage. But there was more off camera. I'm like, wow. Like, I had some in close range like that one. Like, not paid. It's just like, come on. The umpiring in that game was disgraceful. And this should show the VFLW committee that the clock should stop. I'm sick of games being ruined like this. There was a Waffle W game a few years back for the Swan Districts, who I've had some players on from that side, and they weren't happy that particular game that's referenced to similar to this, if not worse somehow, where they had a shot, a minute and a half to go, about 60 metres out on the boundary. They had a mark or a free kick or whatever, and the opposition person on the mark had a cramp or an injury. They stayed down for 90 seconds, and the moment the siren went, they jumped back up. They weren't injured. They were time wasting, and that should have been an example to show, nope, we've got to get rid of this rule. And the Waffle W still haven't changed that rule. The VFLW have had another example like this. They want to get on the front foot of other leagues. Stamp this out. Time wasting should not be allowed, and you cannot have that happen if you bring in the rule where the clock stops. Because then people just aren't going to bother doing it because they know the clock stops, so why would they be wasting time? So the competition need to change it now. I would say they won't change it in season, but if there's going to be an exception for a rule you change in season, it's this. Time wasting is not fair to any team. And in this example, Box Hill, because they were coming red hot for the back half of that game. And to be honest, the way they were going, Collingwood are very lucky there wasn't another minute to go, because they probably would have lost it. So they can consider themselves very lucky, Collingwood. But here we are. Now, on the topic of frustrations, is team lineups. I haven't really talked about it too much on this channel. I have two players and other people. Team lineups, like you have games on Saturday mornings, Sunday mornings sometimes, right? Why are the teams being released at 5 p.m. onwards from Friday night? You know, people want to know who's playing and everything like that. Another thing you can easily fix. I know plenty of people that have mates that play in all teams, and I do myself. And I would like to know sometimes if said player is playing. And I don't know till the night before, and it makes it hard sometimes to organise or let the individual know, or individuals know, that we're coming to the game. Because they don't even find out till late Thursday night, Friday morning. Just like the AFL, they should be releasing team lineups on a Thursday night, no matter what. Not this Friday, 5 p.m. onwards rubbish. Thursday night, if you want to do extended squads, do that. So at least people have a rough idea who's playing and who's not playing. And so people can schedule their game time and where they want to go. Because I've mentioned about the fixtures clashing all the time. Sometimes we want to see all the people we know. So it's hard to do that if we don't know who's playing and we don't find out until less than 24 hours out before their game is. Sometimes basically 12 hours before their game is on, if not a little bit over 12 hours. But that's ridiculous. How are we meant to tell someone that we're going to attend if we can't tell them to after 8 o'clock at night, the night before? And some of them may not see it before then. And then in the morning, they're going to the game, so they may not see it at all. So, you know, it's just frustrating. The competition need to fix things. Don't wait for another competition to do it. Change it yourself. Get on the front foot and actually fix this. Like, I was speaking to players the last few days, you know, if they're playing this week and all this stuff. They don't know. They should know by now if they're playing. Thursday night at the latest, the team should be released. So that's something also the competition should release. Come on, do better with it. It's frustrating, and I'm not the only one thinking that. Hope you guys and girls enjoyed that edition of the world-famous segment, Scoops Goes Bang. Now, it's time to go through my Scoops VFLW Round 5 Team of the Week. From the back line, Elise Cook and Matilda Van Berkel. Full back, Nadia von Bertouch. Half back line, the flankers, Nayli Borg and Molly Eastman. Centre half back, Ali McLinden. Wingers, Lulu Beattie and Octavia Di Donato. Centre woman, Alana Barber. Half forward line, the flankers, Gabby Collingwood and Tess Cattle. Centre half forward, Nike DeJock. Forward line, the pockets, Ella Morris and Caitlin O'Keefe. Full forward, Monique Di Matteo. Ruck, Paige Price. Rovers, Ange Gokus and Lauren Caruso. Interchange, Winnie Lang, Alyssa Misford, Isla Baldwin, Stacia Stevenson and Abby McDonald. The emergencies, Lauren Zagetti, Ali Bishop, Kelly Hardingham, Mecca Morrissey, Abby Tregalis and Neve Crowley. So, my reasons for my selections. Let's get the team of the week on the screen. Now, you're probably wondering, well, gee, 7 Box Hill players in a loss. Well, again, like I say in every podcast I have and do Team of the Weeks for, you don't have to have your team win to get in. It's just as simple as that. Like, Ellie McClendon and Matilda Van Berkel were really influential for the Hawks, and they're the two on the poster for this week. Were really good for the Box Hill Hawks in the back line. and they are why they were kept in the game pretty much the whole way through. Elise Cook for Geelong. Her team was poor, but she was really good with 20 disposals off the half back line. Nadia von Betouch, or Betouch. I hope I've got that right, Nadia. So please send me a message if I've stuffed up the pronunciation of your name. I would actually like to know definitively how to pronounce it so I don't butcher it potentially anymore. She was really good for Carlton. She had 11 disposals or so with like 9 intercept possessions, so she was really, really good. And had she not been there, they would have lost by a lot more to Darebin. And I wouldn't even call it an upset because they're about the same level. Darebin going back-to-back wins, really impressive. Molly Eastman was really impressive for the Pies. She had about 17 disposals and was really good off the half-back line. Lulu Beattie was fantastic with 2 goals and 23 disposals and about 7 intercept possessions. Alana Barber, best on ground for the round, 34 disposals, like 14 clearances. She had the numbers of Ange Gokas from a few weeks ago. She was fantastic. Octavia Di Donato, been a solid contributor all year for Carlton, 24 disposals, about 9 tackles as well, so she was really good. Now, Gabby Collingwood kicked 3 behinds and had 9 disposals, but, I mean, I was at the game, so I saw the work she was putting in. She was always a part of the chains that got the ball inside 50 for the Box Hill Hawks, and her service work was really good. There was an intercept mark she took in the 4 line where Collingwood were trying to clear it out, and she ran from the side and jumped in front of her opponent and took the mark, which led to a scoring shot. So I thought she was really good, and I mean, if you watch my vlog, she's everywhere in that vlog, so she deserves a spot in the team of the week. Nike DeJock kicked 4 goals and was fantastic for the Roots. Massive win over the Bulldogs. Shows playing a whole team of AFLW plays Bulldogs does not always work. Tess Cattle had 22 disposals and was really, really good for the Box Hill Hawks. Ella Morris for Casey. She kicked 3 goals and a debut goal to remember for Ella Morris. Monique Di Matteo kicked 3 goals and was great for Darebin in their win over Carlton. Caitlin O'Keefe, who is second in the Coleman, with 10 goals, I believe, and Nike DeJock's on 11. And Monique Di Matteo is not far behind them on the leaderboard for the goal kicking. So they're probably the 3 in contention for the leading goal kicker award for this year. Now, I did have Nike DeJock winning, so currently I am correct. Caitlin was really good, kicked 2 goals, about 14 disposals, played a 50th game, I think it was, on the weekend, so well done to Caitlin. Paige Price was dominant in the ruck for Box Hill, very noticeable with the orange helmet. She kicked 2 goals in the last quarter and had about 30 hitouts and was the far better ruck for the round, in particular if you want to compare her to her Collingwood opponents. Ange Gokas had 27 disposals, like 8 clearances again, was a lock. Lauren Caruso had a goal and 24 touches and had about 8 tackles and deserved a spot on the side. Winnie Lang was Sandy's best player by far with 23 disposals and deserved a spot on the side. Alyssa Mifsud was fantastic for Darebin. She had 24 disposals, about 8 clearances as well. Isla Baldwin had 17 tackles with her 17 disposals. And, I mean, that's just fantastic for Isla Baldwin, who is being one of the youngest and brightest stars of this competition. I want to also give a special shout out while I'm talking about best young players in this competition. Isla Baldwin is one. Amy Trinidad is also one. And Talia Sanger is also one. And another is the next person on my interchange bench, Stacia Stevenson. She had 18 disposals, 10 tackles. She started up in the 4 line, and then when Collingwood started to get a few goals, she played the rest of the game in the midfield and definitely held her own with about 10 contested possessions as well for Stacia Stevenson to go for 18 disposals and 10 tackles. It was really good. Abby McDonald for Essendon. She had 22 disposals and back-to-back weeks of great form for Abby McDonald through the midfield for the Bombers. Lauren Zaghetti was really good for the Pies. She was really close to getting put in the side, as was Abby Tregallis for Sandy and Neve Crowley for Williamstown. They're probably the next choice players. Then the other names there, Bishop, Hardingham, and Morrissey, were just behind them in the pecking order. So let me know your thoughts on my VFLW Team of the Week. I would be keen to know your thoughts on my team. Now, I do notice there's a few names in there that have been in there more than once or twice. I know Isla Baldwin and Stacia Stevenson are 2 that have been here a few times in my Team of the Week. So it just shows the great work they're both putting in. Ange Gokas is another one. Lulu Beattie is another one. that just come to mind off the top of my head. Monique Di Matteo again, fully for the second time. Matilda Van Berkel's been in a few times. Nadia von Batouch has been in as well. So a few players that have come in a few times. Alana Barber, that may be her second time in the team of the week. So, yeah, and some first timers in there. Winnie Lang's been in there twice now. Abby McDonald's been in there twice. So you can kind of see who the consistent performers are this season. I think that's Lauren Caruso's second time in the team of the week as well. She's had a pretty consistent season for Port Melbourne. Also, big clash for Port Melbourne this week against Sandy, who will not be happy after losing to Williamstown by a point. Now, speaking of that game and other games from the weekend, let's go review the round 5 games, shall we? So, the first game we're going to talk about is Carlton 16, Darebin 46. Well, Darebin, back-to-back victories. Great to see for them. A side that most people don't expect to make finals, but, gee, they're giving it a red-hot crack. They were bad against Port Melbourne, which they'll admit. The Bulldogs, it was only the first quarter in the first game of the season they were poor, and they were pretty good for the other 3. They actually won the contest in the back 3 quarters of that game against the Bulldogs by about a goal or so. So very impressive. Port Melbourne game was one to forget, losing by about 50 points. And then on the weekend, they beat Collingwood the week prior after the siren effectively for Monique Di Matteo. That seems to give them a confidence boost. Now they slaughtered Carlton at Icon Park, which is funnily enough the ground in the background of this video, if you didn't know that already. They went to Icon Park, Darebin, and they had a fantastic victory. Lulu Beattie, Ange Gokus, Alyssa Misford was fantastic. Caitlin Bunker was solid as well. For Carlton, Nadia von Batouch was really good. Amy Trinidad was okay as well. But Carlton were very, very poor, and Darebin were very, very good. So congratulations to Darebin on getting back-to-back victories. They're just outside the top 6 at the moment, which they'll be up and about. Next game, North Melbourne 6-7-43 beat the Bulldogs convincingly 3-4-22. The Roos by 21 points. Well, see what happens when you want to play your AFLW players every week, and that's been the Bulldogs. It doesn't always work. You play a good side like North Melbourne, who have no AFLW players in it. That's why they won the premiership, because they did not play any VFLW players last year, and they won the premiership. Bulldogs, the chemistry won't be there in the back half of the season because you won't have the AFLW players then. So I don't think this is the right move from the Bulldogs to be stacking it with these AFLW players. Now, granted, it's, came from the AFLW program to play them all, but I don't think that's going to work for the VFLW side come the end of the year. Sure, they may have got some wins that get them in the finals now because of that, which I don't think is fair to the other teams at all. Yes, some of the other teams can do it, but what about Williamstown and Darebin and Port Melbourne? They can't do that. So why should they be able to do that? Carlton were doing it until this weekend and they lost. So see what I mean? It's just not the right way to do it because the Bulldogs lost a lot of players. I know Sarah Skinner, Dom Carbone, Talia Pulcino, Jamie Henry, a few players, just to name a few. Oh, yeah, Courtney Ugle, Mia Clifford. They lost a fair few players, and I'm probably forgetting a few as well. And they haven't really brought in anyone of note off the top of my head. Sarah Sonetti is coming, which is good for them. But outside of that, there haven't been many players that have played that were new to the side. So, it's probably a disappointing thing for the Bulldogs. They've got a harsh reality check. I wanted to see if they continue to play these AFLW players, but that won't help them come the back end of the year because then it's like saying, oh, well, the AFLW side got us to finals, and now our VFLW listed players haven't had the chemistry to play all year because they've been sitting on the sidelines playing local footy or watching on the sidelines as emergencies. And it's like, well, we haven't got to play all year. Now we're in finals, which is awesome, but we haven't played all year. Like, players like Marlene McLeod has had to miss a few games while these AFLW players are playing, and she's a very good forward for the Bulldogs. Mary Sindrell has been playing for the Bulldogs last year. She played a lot last year and was very good. I don't think she's played a game this year. She might have played one, and that's partially due to the AFLW players in the side. You've seen a few players leave, and that may be why some left. I feel like some of the positional changes last year to some players probably are why they're gone from their club they were at last year in the Bulldogs, and now they're not there. Like playing players out of position. And now you've got the problem of having players like Marlene McLeod and Mary Sindrell not play games this year for most part because you've had AFLW players playing, and it can work and it can be against you as well. You could lose players that you've lost already from the most recent trade period or trade period off-season period because they see what's happening. The Bulldogs AFLW players are playing over them and they don't want to be there. Or when they were in the team, when the AFLW players weren't there, they were getting put out of position and that's why they leave. Because play people to their strengths. If someone's strength is to play midfield, actually keep them there and don't put them at like full back or full forward or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. Like, play people to their strengths. And North Melbourne gave them a reality check that they really needed, to be honest. Let's be real. Nike Jajok was fantastic with 4 goals. Alana Barber, 34 disposals, like 12 clearances. She was fantastic. Charlotte Ryan was all right as well. Brett Gawley, the coach of the Roos, would be very, very impressed with this victory. Beating a side full of AFLW players. They had Emma McDonald playing, Elaine Grigg in there, Sarah Pousty, who was a first-year draftee, along with Emma McDonald, and Elaine Grigg was a top 10 pick the year prior. So, and they had Jess Fitzgerald, who's a really well-established midfielder for the Bulldogs playing as well. So they'll be really happy, the Roos, getting a very easy win in the end over the Bulldogs. Collingwood 27, Box Hill 25 by 2 points. I was there. Collingwood, before the rain came, they were very good. And they were the better side at that point in time. They got a 2-goal buffer at quarter time, something like that, 10 points maybe. And they were all over the Box Hill Hawks, which I was very surprised. And the rain came and was for a lot of the game it was around for. Even if it stopped, it was then at that point too wet, as in muddy and puddles and everything. That ground is not great for football. Very dangerous as well sometimes. The whole goal square was basically mud. They really need to fix that up. I mean, people say that, people have a kick on that ground all the time. That's why I've been to grounds in Melbourne near the MCG that aren't really official, game grounds that are in better condition than Vic Park. So that's something they need to maintain better. So, but after that, Box Hill, I wouldn't say were the far better side, but they were the better side. They just weren't capitalising on their opportunities up forward. And then when Paige Price kicked a few goals, Liv Fogarty kicked her first goal for the game, and the Box Hill Hawks were coming hot. And that's when the umpires had their say, and they even were having their say throughout the game. As I mentioned before, the players in my team of the week all were fantastic, led by Isla Baldwin, Stacia Stevenson, Paige Price in the ruck, Gabby Collingwood up forward, Tess Cattle through the midfield as well, Ali McClendon, Matilda Van Berkel as well. So apologies if I've forgotten one that I didn't name that I had in my team of the week, but there were 7 of them, and all 7 of them were fantastic and kept their side in the contest throughout the whole game, in particular late. And a few interesting umpire calls went against them. Talia Fallows kicked the first goal of the game for the Pies. Lily Rose Williamson didn't play this game for the Pies. They're a recruit from the Bombers. She'll be back this week for the North Melbourne clash. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting game, this one. Credit to the Pies, because I thought this win was just right around the corner. I was waiting for this to happen. I had them in my top 4 predictions. I think I had them 4th, 5th at worst, and they've played very poor this year. But on the weekend, they were pretty good, and they were very lucky to hold on. Molly Eastman was really good, the former Tiger for the Pies. And Dom Carbone through the midfield was pretty good, along with Talia Sanger. Right, the next game to go through is Casey 36, Essendon 42. Bombers by 6 points. Casey, what happened? I was really surprised and impressed with how good you were going. Alan Morris kicked 3. And the side was going really well. Meg McDonald, was doing really well for the Casey side. And then just choked a 20-point lead. As simple as that. I'm sure the coach at Casey is not going to be happy with that. Impressive that they were slaughtering the Bombers, but then to let them come back and get another late goal. Again, Lucy Thompson from Tasmania kicked the winning goal for Essendon. The Bombers will be happy that they got the win and they'll move on from it. I'm sure they're not gloating about this victory. They'll obviously be happy, clearly. But Casey, one that got away, and they should be very, very angry with how they finished off the game. Ella Morris, though, can hold her head up high. That was a great game from Ella Morris. Kicked 3 goals in 14 disposals. Hence why she was in my team of the week. She was fantastic. And a goal of the year contender, according to some. Her debut goal to remember. Right, the next game to go through. Oh, also, Megan Misford was very, very good for the Bombers. Someone that played round 1 and was very, very good. Had 17 disposals and got dropped after round 1, which I was amazed by. She was back in the side the last few weeks, and great to see her do really well and be a good recruit from Tassie also for the Bombers. And Al Chaston and Abby McDonald obviously were really good for the Bombers as well, and were a key part to why they came back. Came back also, along with Megan. Port Melbourne 61, Geelong 4. Geelong just don't know how to score. It's as simple as that. I've seen some Geelong people be very happy and content with how they've gone. I mean, I'm sorry. The only game you were close was against Carlton. And let's be real. You lost by 15 points, but you were down by like 30 points. And you were still never close to winning that game. That was the closest you've been, and you got smashed. Let's be real. Not scoring goals against Port Melbourne. Barely scoring a goal against Sandringham. You kicked 2 goals in 3 minutes, and if it wasn't for that, you kicked no goals. The Geelong game against Carlton, you scored like 2 or 3 goals. Scoring is an issue. That's why when you select a team, you don't just go local. Look at a team like Williamstown. They've got players from Perth. They've got people from other places in other states. Essendon have got a few Tasmanians. Sandringham have got a few Queenslanders in their side. Some ex-AFLW players. Everything like that. Jemima Woods was a great pickup for Geelong, but that's all you recruited. She's great, and she's been pretty damn good. But the rest are all just Geelong Falcons players or ex-Geelong Falcons players or local players. That's just not going to cut it. A team that's just come from the Coates Talent League, basically, essentially, is not going to beat in a mature, experienced team lineup. They've got a new coach at the helm as well. They needed to recruit better, and they're not going to win a game this year. I don't see them winning a game this year. Only against Casey will they have a chance. And even then, if Casey play like they did against the Bombers, I see Geelong going winless for 2025. Now, I say that now, and you watch them win on the weekend against Essendon, and this will make me look stupid. But no, it won't, because Essendon will win. How much will they win by? I don't know. If the Bombers that turn up against Casey in the first half turn up, they may choke and lose. If they play like they did in the last half, they will beat Geelong very easily. So we'll have to wait and see here. But this Port Melbourne game, they were completely unacceptable. I'm sure they're not happy with this result, and they want to hope they're not happy with this result because they were dreadful. Absolutely dreadful. Port Melbourne, though, Caruso, fantastic. Seaton as well. Caitlin O'Keefe. Georgia Alomes was really good. She kicked 3 goals as well. You could probably say she was actually harsh not to be in the team of the week. And, on second thought, I probably should have had her in. But, it is what it is. I thought, her teammate Caitlin O'Keefe was better. Monique Di Matteo, Ella Morris were, also better. But she was very good. Kicked 3 goals early. And, that was the difference in the game, really. So I probably should have put her in. But I think I've had Georgia in once before. And I'm sure she'll be back in again throughout this year. Maybe as early as this week coming for Port Melbourne against Sandy. Maybe we'll have to wait and see. Speaking of Sandy 28, Williamstown 29. Now, Ellery Morris, unfortunately, has ruptured her Achilles at training during the week. So she did not play on the weekend and unfortunately won't play for the rest of this year. So we wish Ellery Morris all the best. Sophie Locke, as her teammate Izzy Hartog, exclusively revealed here on the Scoops VFLW Game Changers Show last week. Izzy told us all to hear that the former Hawk, the boom recruit, Sophie Locke, the boot is off. And funnily enough, the next morning, Soph put up a story with the boot is off. So I find that very interesting. Good timing, Soph. But thanks for watching. Love to have you on the show. Or a goal kicking challenge as well. But or both. But it's great to see Soph is slowly getting back to playing. because she's very missed at the moment at the Sandy side. Ellery Morris is a massive loss for the side. I was a bit worried once I found out Ellery wasn't playing, how the backline would go in terms of leaking a score and everything like that. And, Sandy led for most of the game, but Williamstown were just pressing and pressing and pressing. They hit the lead. Neve Crowley was really good late, took a few strong contested marks, kicked a goal of her own. And I thought, oh, no, we're going to lose again. Well, not again, because it was our first loss of the year, but, it was disappointing. It was really disappointing. We had some players do really well, like Winnie Lang, her second game for the year, back-to-back 20-plus disposal games, like 10 clearances. She was fantastic and absolutely deserved to be my team of the week back-to-back weeks for 2 games for this year. Imogen Evans kicked a goal and 17 disposals. It was really good for Sandy in the midfield. Abby Tregellis in the midfield was pretty good as well. Erica Fowler played a part. For Williamstown, Neve Crowley, and some of their other midfielders that had like 14 tackles, which is pretty impressive as well. Were also pretty good. But Williamstown, they got the win at the end, and credit to them for doing pretty well. So they got the win, and they're in the top 6 at the moment now as well. Let's wrap this show up with previewing the round 6 game, shall we? So the first game, again, we've got a split of games for the first time in a long time. Now, I can't take claim for this because the fixture was out before I brought this up over the last 6 weeks, but we have games not really clashing with each other properly. Maybe one game on Sunday might clash for half a game, but that's it, which is great. Good job. We have Darebin hosting Casey Saturday 10:35 a.m. at Jenna Steele Oval. I'm going back-to-back wins for Darebin. I'm going Darebin by 7 points in a close affair. Saturday 1:05 p.m. at Deakin Uni in Geelong. We have Geelong hosting Essendon. I have Geelong losing to Essendon by 36 points. Saturday at Box Hill City Oval, 2:35 p.m. Victorian time. It's Box Hill hosting the Bulldogs. AFLW players or not, I'll be tipping Box Hill by 16 points. They'll be angry and want to bounce back with a bang. Collingwood and North Melbourne at Vic Park on Sunday at 10:05 a.m. I'll be tipping the Roos in this one by 16 points. Sunday, 11:05 a.m. This is the one that may clash for half a game. At Icon Park, it's Carlton hosting Williamstown. I'll be tipping Williamstown in this one by 45 points. And the final game to end round 6 on Sunday, 2:05 p.m. at Trevor Barker Beach Oval in Sandringham. It's Sandy hosting Port Melbourne. Obviously, you saw Izzy on the show last week. She used to play for Port Melbourne, so this will be a very good clash for her against her old side. I'll be tipping Sandringham in this one by 1 point. Thank you all for watching this week's episode of the Scoops VFLW Game Changers Show, hosted by yours truly, Scoops. Now, if you would like to be a part of this show as a co-host or a special guest or anything like that, please send me a message on Instagram, AFL Info Live. If you're a player watching this and you haven't followed my Instagram channel, please go do so. It's at AFL Info Live. And yeah, I would greatly appreciate it. Would love to have you on for a Gold King Challenge interview, co-hosting an episode like this, or anything else you would think of. Thank you all very much. And as I said, if you know any VFLW players, Waffle W, Sanford W players, or any AFLW players or any other state league players, and you'd like to see them on the podcast in a Gold King Challenge and or interview, please do send me a message. We'll try to get something sorted. Thank you all, and come on, Sandy, let's get the win. And get the win, and get the win, and get the win. Yeah.